Shalom. I was looking at the Parasha this week, Parsha Mini, the 11th chapter of Leviticus tells us about animals which we can eat and those that should not even be considered food. Now, we are not given any reason for these things. I know many books have been written about the health benefit of eating kosher and many other things, maybe spiritual benefits, and I do not doubt those. But at the end of the day, we are not told why. The text only tells us, only signs off. The only reason we're given is in verse 11:45, which says, "For I am Adonai who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Therefore you are to be holy because I am holy." Basically, the whole idea here is that this diet, this way of eating, makes us holy, which means separates us. I mean, I've traveled in many countries, and one of the things that separates cultures is the food they eat. The things that some people consider food in some countries is not even considered food in other countries. Even the way to eat, the tools that we use to eat, the decorum of eating, what goes on when people eat, the way you set the table is different. My wife and I sometimes have discussion on how to set the tables because I learned in French to do it a certain way, but in America you do it another way. Eating is a big part of who we are, the way we eat, but also what we eat. So by separating, by establishing a certain diet, Hashem separated his people. And eating holy, eating kosher, eating according to Leviticus 11 makes us holy, which means separated, set apart from the rest of the world. And that's a good reason to do it. Not for the sake of being divisive, but for the sake of showing who we belong to. He says, verse 11, "For I am Adonai who brought you up out of the land of Egypt to be your God. Therefore you are to be holy because I am holy. I am holy." So it's really important. Now, I was reading some of the verses that pertain to the animals. The mammals that are acceptable to eat are all domesticable animals. They're animals like sheep, goat, cows. The pig is domesticable, but the pig is omnivore. It eats anything, which is a bad sample. And but all these animals that we're allowed to eat have a certain diet. They eat grass mostly. The ones we're not allowed to eat are the carnivorous animals and other sorts. Same with birds. Birds, we're told, we're given a list of those who are not allowed. We're not allowed to eat, and it's all the predators. Vultures, eagle, but we're allowed to eat other types of birds that are duck, chicken, turkey. Fish also have to be of a certain kind. But I was especially looking at the ones that the crawlers, the creepy crawlers. In verse 41, chapter 11, it says, "Any creature that swarms on the ground is a detestable thing. It is not to be eaten. Whatsoever moves on its stomach, goes on all fours, or has many legs. All creatures that swarm on the ground, you are not to eat them, because they are a detestable thing. You are not to make yourselves detestable with any of these swarming, crawling creatures. Do not make yourself unclean with them. Do not defile yourself with them. For I am Adonai. Therefore consecrate yourselves and be holy, for I am holy. Do not defile yourselves with any kind of swarming creature that moves along the ground. He says it twice, so it's important. And I was thinking, about the snake in the Garden of Eden. The snake in the Garden of Eden, his punishment for deceiving mankind, was that he would crawl on his belly. A lot of mystical Jewish idea on kosher is the closer to the ground the worse it is. The snake, as a punishment for his deceiving man, was told he will crawl on his belly. Did he have legs before? I saw one time a Babylonian tablet with Adam and Eve, a tree, and a snake with 4 little legs. I don't know. This is an old tablet that I saw. But it does say that the punishment that is that he would crawl. So basically, to crawl on the stomach was the punishment for the snake. So anything that crawls on his stomach is similar to the snake. To the snake in its punished state. Paul says one time, avoid all appearances of evil. There is the book of Leviticus also teaches us that life is in the blood. Life is in the blood. There are people who believe that that we are what we eat. It's actually an English adage. We are what we eat. And there are people who believe, in a sense, that the Native Americans believe that actually that we become the nature of the animal we eat. And Leviticus does say that life is in the blood. So could it be, and now this is just my head midrashing here, could it be that one of the reasons we're not to eat these certain animals is because of this predatory nature, their wild nature, their untaming nature, or their undistinguishing nature, because they eat everything? Because we are not to be wild. We are to be tame. We are to be docile. We are to be like sheep. We're to be easily entreated. We're not to be violent. We're not to be predatory. We are to give rather than receive. We have to submit. We are to submit rather than conquer. This is what the nature of the believer, the nature of the child of God, of being perfect, is given to us in the words of Yeshua, that he told on the mountain, to turn the other cheek, to pray for our enemies. And he qualified this attitude of being perfect as the Father in heaven is perfect. And this is a total opposite of these predatory animals or undistinguishing animals, like the pig who eats anything, that we're supposed to avoid. This is just a little thought that I had. Of the animals we're not supposed to eat, a lot of them are those who crawl on the ground. And look what it says here. Um, in verse 20, all winged, swarming creatures that go on all fours are detestable thing for you, except that of all winged, swarming creatures that go on all fours. You may eat those that have jointed legs above their feet, enabling them to jump off the ground. You see, they're not crawlers. They're able to get off the ground. Get off the ground. To not get off the ground was the curse given to the snake. Enabling them to jump off the ground. Specifically of these you may eat the various kinds of locusts, grasshoppers, katydids, and crickets. But others than that, all winged swarming creatures having 4 feet are a detestable thing for you. So we can learn something here. Basically, the main point here is that the devil was made to crawl on the ground, was made to crawl on his belly. That was his punishment, and that anything that does that provokes the appearance of evil. These are just little thoughts. Shalom.